So, today we're diving into a really profound book by the sociologist Zygmunt Bauman. It's called Liquid Love, and it's all about the fragile, shifting state of our relationships in the modern world. And honestly, it all starts with a feeling that you're probably all too familiar with. You know that feeling, right? That pull in two different directions. On the one hand, you crave this deep, meaningful intimacy with someone, but on the other hand, you're terrified of getting trapped. You want the comfort of a real bond, but you also need to know that the emergency exit is always unlocked. Well, if that sounds like you, Bauman's point is that you are absolutely not alone. This isn't some personal flaw or a weird quirk. He argues that this exact paradox is one of the defining features of what he calls our liquid modern world. And once you get that idea, everything else just clicks into place. So let's start right there with our liquid modern world, because this idea, it's the foundation for his entire argument. Okay, so what in the world is liquid modernity? Well, Bauman sees it as this massive shift away from what he call a solid era. You know, a time when things were built to last. Think a job for life, a marriage for life, communities you were born and died in. But today, everything feels temporary, flexible, constantly changing, just like a liquid that can't hold its shape for very long. And if you look at the trade-offs we've made, they're pretty stark. We've gone from stable, lifelong bonds to these loose, temporary connections. We've basically swapped a world of security for a world that prizes freedom above all else. And your identity? It's no longer something you're born with. It's something you're expected to build and rebuild again, all on your own. Now, this whole shift from solid to liquid, you really feel it in the most personal part of our lives, love and relationships. And here's a crucial point. Just look at the language we use. We're talking less and less about relationships and more about connections. See, a relationship implies partnership, commitment, something you build together. But a connection? That's totally different. It's part of a network. It's something designed to be just as easy to unplug as it is to plug in. All the engagement with none of the risk of getting trapped. And Bauman points out these brilliant, almost funny strategies we've developed to keep things liquid. We're encouraged to have top pocket relationships. You just pull them out when you need them and put them away when you're done, or to treat them like Ribena, dilute them so they're not too strong or dangerous. We give them regular checkups, like a car, to see if they're still roadworthy. And the golden rule? Avoid commitment at all costs because, well, it might close the door on an even better option that's just around the corner. And this quote from a guy talking about online dating, wow, it just cuts right to the heart of it all, doesn't it? The ultimate fantasy of liquid love is that clean getaway. No mess, no painful conversations. You can always press delete. But of course, this way of thinking doesn't just stop with our love lives. Oh no. It's seeping into everything, completely reshaping our friendships, our social circles, and our whole sense of community. Now, to really get this, Bauman borrows a couple of concepts from the anthropologist Victor Turner. Turner talked about two ways we come together. On one side, you've got societas. That's the formal, structured, rule-based society. It's the system. On the other side, you have communitas. This is the real, messy, spontaneous stuff. Human solidarity, creativity, helping each other out. You can think of it as the moral economy. And here's Bauman's big argument. The consumer market is basically at war with communitas. It attacks it with a two-punch combo. First, it commodifies everything. It turns friendship, support, and community into things you can buy. And second, by doing that, it devalues anything that can't be sold. If you can't put a price tag on it, it starts to seem worthless. And the result of all this is, well, it's actually pretty worrying. We're basically losing the skills of being social. Think about it. When every interaction has a pre-approved script or can be handled by an app, we forget how to build and maintain real bonds on our own. Our social muscles just start to wither away. Okay, so let's zoom out one last time. We've talked about love and community, but how does all this play out in the biggest spaces we all share, our cities? Life in a modern city is defined by this constant push and pull. On one side, you have mixophobia, this fear of strangers, of difference. It makes us want to hide away in safe, predictable, segregated spaces. But on the other side, you have mixophilia, the thrill of the city, the novelty, the variety, the opportunity that only comes from being surrounded by all kinds of different people. We're drawn to the very thing we're afraid of. And the way we build our cities plays a huge role in this. The so-called cures for our urban anxiety, things like gated communities, are actually, as Bauman says, pathogenic. They make the disease worse. By sealing us off from difference, they make us even less tolerant and more afraid. The real solution is to create open, inviting public spaces that encourage what's called a fusion of horizons, places where we can actually mix and, learn to get along. And that brings us to the biggest question of all. In this liquid world that seems designed to pull us apart, is it even possible for humanity to find a way to stick together? For a possible answer, Bauman looks to the incredible philosopher Hannah Arendt. Her idea was that we only truly become human through dialogue. It's by talking to each other about the world and our experience of it that we actually create our shared humanity. It's in the process of trying to understand each other that we learn how to be human. But here's the catch, and it's a big one. For that kind of genuine dialogue to happen, Arendt argued we have to do something really hard. We have to let go of the idea that we possess the one absolute truth. We have to accept that our perspective is just one of many. We have to, in the beautiful words of the philosopher Lessing, commend the truth unto God and just focus on the search. And that really is the ultimate question that Bauman leaves us with. Our entire liquid modern world is built on the promise of that easy exit, that delete button, that frictionless escape hatch. So, in a world that is constantly, tirelessly encouraging us to just walk away, how on earth do we learn to stay? How do we learn to sit in the discomfort, to engage in that difficult, messy, essential dialogue, and to truly become human together?